I remember the person I had the conversation said, listen, if you're not TV, radio, or newspaper, you're not media. And I literally kept knocking on the door saying, this is what I'm doing. And I think Disney started to see the value of what we as third-party content creators were able to do because the messaging is different. That relationship of trust that I have with Disney, more importantly, relationship of trust that I have with the listener, is of paramount importance.
Hey there, folks. Brian Coddington here from Libsyn, and I'm joined by, I'm going to call you Mr. Disney, just because that's kind of how I always view you. I'm joined by Lou Mongello. One of the things that I love about what you do is you lead with passion first. You're not doing it to make money. You led with passion. So what kind of led to you deciding, hey, I want to do a podcast about Disney, of all things? What's that story?
Yeah, I mean, I was a lawyer in New Jersey, which are two things I ask that you don't hold against me.
No, I won't hold
I was
that
a
against
lawyer
you.
in New Jersey. I had an IT consulting company on the side. I was always in the service business. So I had this idea about making something once. So the idea of writing a book came to be, and I wasn't smart enough to write about the law or computers. So I really just set out only as just a personal challenge to myself.
Yeah.
Is can I write a book and can I get it published? And I wanted to write the book that I wanted to read, which was about Disney trivia. I've been going to Walt Disney World since I was a kid, since it opened in 1971. That book didn't exist, and that was sort of the challenge. I had a little 2-page brochure website. It turned into like blog posts in 2005. I hear about this technology of podcasting. I literally asked Jeeves, like, what is a podcast? And I realized that the spoken word is just so much more powerful than anything that I could write.
I think a lot of new podcasters, they start off and they're leading with passion, but the audience might not necessarily be coming. So like for you, what was those early days like?
Fear, absolute fear. Well, because we didn't know what we were doing, right? We're sort of figuring out as we're going along. We're hand coding our feed, and then you put it out there, and then you just sort of wait, right? And there's that, is anybody listening? What do they think? And fortunately, because I was so early, I did get a lot of feedback. I was an early adopter, being on message boards and Usenet news groups. So I had at least a platform to start talking about it. And I realized very early on that I was not the only semi-adult sitting in his basement that just loved Disney, and more importantly, was starved for content. There was no YouTube back then, right? There was no social media. So the fact that there was somebody else talking about this thing, to your point, that you were passionate about, made you know that maybe the people in your immediate social circles or your family aren't into it, but you've got a friend somewhere else that every week is going to show up and talk about the place that you love.
Now, you've been able to now, at this point, be able to transition to working with Disney in certain degrees, right? So how did that sort of relationship go from just you're a Disney fanboy talking about Disney because you love it to now you're working directly with them?
It has been, if you're a Disney fan, you'll get the reference. It has been a wild ride like Mr. Toad. Because when I first started out, even when I was writing my first book, I would reach out to Disney and say, listen, I'm writing this book. I just want to make sure the information I'm putting in is correct. I don't want anything. I don't need free tickets, but I don't want to just sort of like guess. And they said, and I remember the person I had the conversation said, listen, if you're not TV, radio, or newspaper, you're not media, and we really, we have no sort of interest. And I literally and metaphorically just sort of kept knocking on the door saying, this is what I'm doing. I want to do right, not just by you, but because I'm putting my name on it. And there's a certain standard I hold myself to. And over time, that door started to open a little bit, and you form a relationship with, we're all in the relationship business, I think,
yes.
No matter what you talk about. Formed relationships, earn their trust, which I value implicitly. And I think Disney started to see the value of what we as third-party content creators were able to do because the messaging is different. If Disney goes out and says, you should eat at this place because it's the best hamburger on property, it's a marketing message.
Right.
If I go in with some friends and we do a review and like, oh my God, this is the best hamburger, it's different because you are trusting your friend. And I think that relationship of trust that I have with Disney, more importantly, relationship of trust that I have with the listener, is of paramount importance.
What advice do you have for new podcasters just starting? Like people who are like, they're seeing all this talk about you have to do video. I mean, we're doing a video podcast right now, and I think sometimes they get overwhelmed by all things. Yeah. What's your advice as someone who's been doing this since 2005 that you could give to them?
So I love the fact that you started our conversation by talking about the word passion, which again, sometimes would get thrown around a lot, and it's not a buzzword. It's true. I think you have to sincerely love what you do One, because your audience can hear it. You can't fake it.
No.
This is the most intimate medium, and you literally and figuratively on somebody's ears. They can tell if you're faking it. And two, the reason why people stop podcasting after 5, 6, 7, 9, 10 episodes is like, this is a lot of work. And if you don't love it, and if you're not doing it for the fact that you want to share your love of whatever that topic is, it's going to start to feel like work. You're going to start to feel frustrated because, like, I'm sure you've heard it, like, hey, I've been podcasting for 6 months. Where's all my money? That's not the way it works.
No.
It is a marathon. It is not a sprint. You have to be passionate, patient, persistent, and I think willing to, innovate and adapt, like we were saying before, if you really want to try and turn what you love into what you do.